There we go. Define the problem and stick to the issue. Have you guys ever had people that you've had conflict with that just go all over the map? Yes. Go all over the map. So you guys are going to be the ones to bring that back to the center. Sometimes it's very hard, so you're going to really have to have a lot of grace, a lot of patience. We talked about humbling yourself because people sometimes just don't know how to handle it, and it's going to be you. You guys are going to be the leader, so you're going to be looked upon to figure out how you're going to deal with some of these difficult folks that will be in your groups. A lot of people come to groups not to learn the Bible. Some of them come for fellowship. They have very different reasons why people come to your groups, so you guys have to be aware of that and make sure that it doesn't get too far into it. So underneath that, define the problem, clearly define the issue and stay on the topic during the discussion. Conflict deteriorates when the issue that started the conflict gets lost in angers, words, and hurts and everything else. So just remember, guys, that you really want to humble yourself when you have that. We're going to go through some really good examples of what it looks like when people are angry, when they're bitter, and they're just wanting to really lash out on you. Number 2, purity of the heart. I love this verse, Luke 6:42, because, it's hard to think that you might be part of the problem. It really is. Because we don't think it's us. We think it's got to be all you. And it could be us. It could be how we actually handle them when they come at us, very defensive. So we have to look at ourselves and really stop and think, there might be some truth to this. So just remember, purity of the heart is so, so very important. Number 3, take time for the discussion. Planning allows you to better avoid these things. So number 1, you really do not want to really have a discussion with someone after work, after you've had a stressful day at work. You might be fatigued. Maybe you kind of got into it with your spouse, or maybe the kids, or you're distracted. I don't know if you've ever talked to somebody. You might be on the phone with them. You could tell they're distracted. You could just tell. In person, it's easy. My thing is, when I'm talking to them, I'm a very eye contact person, and it just really gets under my skin when I'm talking to you and you're roaming, and you're roaming around. So you really want to make sure that you're not distracted when you're dealing with a person with conflict. Very, very important that you really want to take that time. Number 4, you want to affirm the relationship. That's really, really important. And in your book right here, it says, affirm the relationship before clearly defining the problem. And it gives you an example. So for instance, let's say Dolores, someone comes to you and they say, hey, Dolores, this is what's going on. You really want to affirm them. Let them know that you care. You don't want to go, oh my God. You don't want to do that. You really, even if it seems really, really insignificant, or even if it really seems like it's just ridiculous, you really want to affirm people, because that way it allows them to open up to you more. They'll be able to know immediately if you care or if you don't care. So affirming the people is very, very important. The relationship is more important than the problem, because you want to have these long-term relationships. You're not going to make friends with everybody that comes to your group. There may be people that come to your group short-term, but you have to remember the relationship is much more important. Defining the problem, avoiding the blaming the other person, I statements instead of you statements. You statements sounds like you're blaming them. So you really want to say I. Well, this is how I feel. People can't take away your feelings when it's your feelings and they belong to you. But when you say you do this, it sounds so much more aggressive. So you really want to stay away from the you statements and really stick to the I statements. Number 5, careful listener. Very, very important. Jason touched on this earlier about not being the one that's talking all the time. So it's really important that you don't want to point the finger, and you want to be a good listener. Be attentive. Some of the examples are in here. When you're talking to someone, You really want to have eye contact. You want to really look at the person. You don't want to do this, like rolling your eyes. So you really want to make sure that you're leaning into the person and really showing that you're listening, and you want to repeat back to them. So what I hear you saying is, it doesn't have to sound too therapy-like. I come from a counseling background, but you want to really say to them, so Joyce, what I'm hearing you say is, and when you repeat it back to them, it does a lot. Sometimes it sounds crazy to them, but when you repeat it back to them, they're able to hear that you're listening to them as well. So that's very, very important. I feel like I'm losing my skirt. This thing is kind of pulling it down, excuse me. Okay. I know. Oh, gosh. You guys maintain eye contact, open body language, and again, you want to reiterate what you're hearing. Propose a solution. People, don't you love when people come to you with complaints, but they don't really have a solution? That's really fun. So you always want to make sure that you're a good problem solver. Basically, you're a problem solver here. So you really want to be able to be a good listener and start to kind of, with them, you're kind of drawing a roadmap of what do you think we should do. You kind of put it back on them, So you really want to make sure that you are providing solutions. I love Philippians 2:4. Each of you should look not only to your own interests, but also to the interests of others. Your attitude should be the same as Christ Jesus. So you really, really want to make sure that your attitude is always on board. Let's see. Forgive. Forgiveness is both an event and a process. Forgiveness is not always easy to do, but when we think about what Jesus has done for us, it becomes easy. It really does. And a lot of times in your groups, you will want to make sure that you're aiming for reconciliation. I've been here for 2 years, and I've seen a lot of people that have had conflict in their groups. They don't want to deal with it, or they're not really sure how to deal with it. They let it go on so long, and then there's no resolution, and people walk away. And you don't want people to walk away. You want to know that you've done everything in your power to make sure that you solved that situation. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God, Matthew 5:9. So.